Okay, so when were you first diagnosed?
From what I was told, when I was about a year and a half old, uh, my mother had taken me to CHIO, and that's when I was first diagnosed.
And how does cerebral palsy affect your life?
Well, it's made it rather challenging and interesting, but all in all, it's been quite an experience.
So, how did you feel when you were first diagnosed?
Well, uh, when I was younger, I didn't realize what all this kerfuffle was about, and I had a lot of surgeries when I was younger. Didn't realize what they were doing, but what they were doing was lengthening all my tendons so that I could eventually walk. So that's it was all worth it. A-frame cast and all those interesting things. Steel framed braces, which I'm not sure. I don't know what they use today. If they still use the same stuff, I'm not sure.
So, what were some of the struggles you faced over the years?
Uh, School was different because I was an oral learner, and nobody knew what that meant until I hit grade 7. So, not grades 1 to 6 was really challenging.
Challenging how exactly?
Well, it's just frustrating because they ask you to do your work and tell you to do your work, and your brain works, but it works differently. So, therefore, when you have a thought and go to write it down on paper, your hands don't work as fast as your brain does.
Okay. So, were you ever bullied?
Oh, lots.
Lots. What grades would you say you were bullied in?
Uh, from grade 1 to grade 6,
Mm-hmm.
every day. It was always the same people. The ironic thing is today, if I meet the people that bullied me, they think we were the best of friends. So, and that makes life interesting. When I was in grade school from grade 1 to grade 6, I was reading about you know, a 2-3 level, right straight through school, right to grade 6. When I went to grade 7 and 8, my reading level came right up to where it should be because they learned that there were different ways to teach people with cerebral palsy.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I went off to high school, I surpassed the grade I was at. So I guess it was nice to know that you weren't really stupid. You just had a different way to learn than everybody else.
So, was it ever hard to seek medical attention?
Uh, no, I'm very lucky. Dr. Demanco is my family doctor and was always right up to date on the newest things there was. And CHIO was a very good resource as well. So
Were you in CHIO a lot?
loads.
Loads.
Hmm.
So, how has the disease changed or differed from when you were little till now?
Well, uh, not a whole lot, just a different way of dealing with it. You know why you have those cramps in your feet when your feet lock up in spasm. So, and it wakes you up in the middle of the night. Uh, you understand that.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, when you're younger, you don't quite understand that. So I'm not I'm not just sure. It's still a learning curve. People look at you a little differently, but all in all, I'd say now, it's not as apparent as it was. People don't bully as much as they used to, unless I do have some friends that have kids that are still in grade school that are still getting bullied very badly. And you would think with all the technology and the learning today that it wouldn't be, but it still is.
So have you always been walking?
Started walking when I was 4 with forearm crutches. And I still use forearm crutches. I just only when I'm outside of the house, or if I'm in a house or in a classroom or something like that, I can get around enough. But pretty much I still use my crutches, and I'm glad that I do, because I know a few friends that don't, or that never did. They thought they were stupid, and they look kind of freaky and different. But their spines are like shoelaces now, and mine's still sort of semi-straight.
So you know people with cerebral palsy then?
Yes.
Yes. So what would you tell them? What kind of advice would you tell them?
Tell somebody that was diagnosed with cerebral palsy. Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
Oh, just basically, hope you have a good doctor. Listen to what your doctor tells you and your therapist tells you, and hang on for a bumpy ride, because it will be bumpy. And have a good sense of humor.
That's for sure. So if a little kid came up to you and asked you why you have these crutches, what would be an easy way to kind of explain what your diagnosis is?
Well, that's kind of difficult. I've had to do that a few times recently, and it's just you tell them, it has to do with it has to do with when you're born, and hopefully they take that for an answer and go away. Otherwise, you have to come up with something else, and I haven't had to do that just yet. So I'm hoping that never comes about, because when you try to explain the RH factor to a little one, they don't get that so well.
Have you ever had to explain to an adult?
Oh yes.
Yeah.
That's and if they have some medical knowledge, then that's okay. But if they don't, well, you would rather explain it to a little one.
Yeah, exactly. So do you find that people stare at you when you go into the community?
Not so much anymore. More so now because of these 2 missing fingers, but that has nothing to do with cerebral palsy. So.
Yes. So what happened with those fingers?
Coming home from a working vacation, and decided to do something really stupid and try to drive straight from Newfoundland to Ontario nonstop. Not a good plan.
No. So you can't drive, right?
No, I can't drive. Visual perception problem. For example, when I see a car coming down the street, I can't tell if it's 50 feet away or 5 feet away. So that's why, sometimes either cars stop and let me cross, or, they'll wonder, they're way down there and I'm way up there, and it's because I can't. It's part of the cerebral palsy is a visual perception problem. It affects, in my case, it affects fine motor skills. I don't write, I print. It just, for years, I could never tie my shoes or find anything to tie my shoes. They came up with all different kinds of things, and when I was in the hospital, when I was in the rehab center getting these rehabs for fingers on my back, that was the vertebrae in my back that was crushed from the accident, I found shoe buttons, and shoe buttons were great. So I don't have to depend on anybody anymore to tie shoes.
Well, that's awesome. Well, thank you very much.